Now, when you're with these grizzly bears, you're surrounded by them. They're very close to you. Is that how you live with them?
Yes, I always give them respect and lots of room because, you know, a grizzly's the boss out there.
Is it going to happen that one day we read a news article about you being eaten by one of these bears?
No, you know,
On January 18th, 2025, in Chhattisgarh's Kanka district, 45-year-old Suklal Daro and 22-year-old Aju Kureddy were gathering wood in the Kora forest. Without warning, a sloth bear, unusually aggressive, charged from the underbrush and attacked both men. Aju, though badly injured, managed to escape and ran for help. Forest officials, including Suklal's elderly father, rushed to the scene of the attack, but by the time they arrived, Suklal had already been killed. Then, just as they began recovering his body, the bear struck again, this time fatally mauling Suklal's father in front of multiple horrified witnesses. What makes this even more terrifying is that there were around 8 people present, which is usually enough to scare a sloth bear away. But this wasn't a typical bear. Officials believe it was infected with rabies, which would explain the abnormal and relentless aggression. That day, the local village lost 2 generations of the same family.
Watch as the bear approaches the boy, heading right towards him in broad daylight. Without panicking, Huxley stares the animal down, looking directly at him until the bear stops dead in his tracks.
A man comes face to face with a bear that seems to really not be messing around. For over a minute, the bear repeatedly charges, getting closer each time. Fortunately, despite getting the scare of his life, this brave man stays very composed the entire time, only ready to shoot if he absolutely needs to. Stephen Miller, an experienced animal trainer, was rehearsing a staged wrestling scene with a trained grizzly bear named Rocky when things would go horribly wrong. Although Rocky was a trained animal, he got disoriented during the act, likely due to all the cameras and multitude of people he has never seen before. With virtually no warning, the bear would turn on Stephen, biting him on his neck. This wasn't too much of a worry though, as Rocky had been trained to not bite with full force. However, as Stephen fell to the ground, other trainers rushed in, shouting and hitting Rocky with bamboo sticks and pepper spray. This would prove to be a grave mistake, as due to frustration and irritation, Rocky's grip only got tighter before thrashing around very aggressively with Stephen still in his mouth. Rocky eventually let go, with Stephen picking himself up and getting to safety. But despite the ordeal lasting only a few seconds, the damage to Stephen's neck was irreparable and would tragically die just 3 minutes later.
What? Grizzly can find an elk carcass when it's underwater, and polar bears can smell a seal through 3 feet of ice.
Oh, Jesus fuck! Imagine if you were in a big concrete building and it's 3 feet thick, and there's a bear on the outside going, meat.
This woman is one of the very few that actually gets attacked by a polar bear and lives to tell about it. The bear comes out of nowhere, bites and claws her multiple times, and then disappears behind the building. It's an absolutely terrifying moment. It's unknown why the bear just left her. Perhaps he didn't like the taste, but whatever the reason, I'm sure the woman is glad nonetheless. A group of people in a village in Kashmir, India, are recorded walking and surrounding a bear that is probably feeling quite confused and afraid. The bear eventually gets fed up and lunges at a man that seemingly had no regard or respect for the potential danger in front of him. After many using bamboo sticks, the bear was eventually fended off. The man sustained relatively superficial wounds, but 3 others were also injured and hospitalized during this incident. It seems people never learn, do they? Home security cameras capture unbelievable footage of a man coming face to face with an unexpected visitor in his garage. Recorded at a home in British Columbia, this is probably one of the scariest encounters I've ever seen that didn't result in injury or worse.
Life on the ranch would be one sweet melody if it weren't for wild bears that prey upon the livestock. This crafty guy, for instance, is about as playful as a wild African lion.
A lone hunter, who has not been identified, filmed himself stalking a young brown bear through a secluded forest in Russia's Far East. He successfully snuck up on the bear, and I would happily give him props for that if it wasn't for his next act of kicking it in the back. It's actually kind of funny. The bear turns around and looks genuinely surprised and confused, wondering, what the hell kind of stupid person is this? Then going on to maul the man, showing him just who's boss before fleeing back into the woods. The man survived, but almost had his entire hand chewed off. Bears in the circus are forced into unnatural, terrifying routines through fear and abuse. Dressed in costumes, they're made to dance, ride bikes, or balance on balls, activities that are far from their wild instincts. Over time, the stress, fear, and constant mistreatment push these intelligent animals to their breaking point, and that's when tragedy tends to strike. Not out of malice, but desperation. The man survived with injuries to his shoulder and arm, yet despite this, I highly doubt these trainers would have learned their lesson. Jump scares don't just exist in movies, they happen in real life too.
She's enormous. She was. Hey, bear. Oh my God. That polar bear smells that man's meat. That's why he's doing this. This has nothing to do with curiosity. He is trying to bite that box to eat that man. 100 million%.
A Russian animal trainer and a circus bear were to appear on a Polish morning show. Things were going as expected, everyone looking happy and excited for such a special moment. But things would soon go horribly wrong. Some believe it was the woman's scent that triggered the bear to attack. Others say that the bear barely noticed the woman, and when he turned around, he got startled by how close she was. For almost 30 seconds, the trainer and another host vigorously try to stop this vicious attack before the bear sets his sights on someone else, the other host. The bear was already declawed and muzzled, so the pair only suffered some scrapes. In the end, it was the bear that ended up the most harmed, as it had to be put down following this incident, which in my opinion is complete bullshit. November of 2009 would be an unforgettable month for spectators at the Bernbear Park in Switzerland. These dramatic photos and videos show the moment that a 4-year-old brown bear got an unexpected visitor in his enclosure. The bear quickly pounced on the man, dragging him around like a rag doll for multiple minutes until emergency services intervened, shooting the bear multiple times. Despite critical injuries, the bear, named Finn, would actually survive. The man was hospitalized with head and leg injuries, all of which were non-life-threatening. I couldn't find any information on if the man jumped in intentionally or if the whole ordeal was just an accident. A Florida man has the scare of his life as a bear comes out of nowhere to attack one of his 2 dogs. Walter Hickox of Daytona Beach is braver than most, as he successfully fends off the bear on his porch, protecting his dogs and getting bitten and clawed in the process. This man literally dives in head first to put himself between his dog and the bear's mouth. The poor pup was surely gone for if he didn't do what he did. What an absolute legend.
They often say, like, if it's white, good night. It means that if you are in an attack with a polar bear, it's not looking good.
Words can't really describe how borderline insane some Russians can be. After spotting a polar bear wandering the snowy streets, a man decides to nominate himself for the Darwin Award as he gets within just a few feet of this enormous predator to take some photos.
Миша! Иди домой!
Wildlife management hasn't always been so successful for the Park Service. For decades, it allowed people to approach and feed bears. In Yellowstone alone, bears injured almost 50 people a year.
Trying to make a roller bear skate has got to be one of the worst acts against nature that anyone has ever thought of. In the end, there were no serious injuries from this particular instance, but multiple spectators came forward saying that the bear seemed obviously anxious and nervous before the attack happened. Something is very clearly going wrong during this act, but what stands out to me is how little reaction and intervention is happening by the other trainers, almost as if it's just another day at the circus. I think it's distasteful to react any other way to a woman being attacked by a bear than to be concerned and sympathetic. But when it comes to bears in the circus, my concern and sympathy tends to wear a little thin.
Oh, polar bear. There's too many of them. He gonna get one of y'all. Let me go. Get swim. Look at this. Help him out. Help your homie out. Stab that with them long ass teeth.
It's one thing to want to have a profile picture that stands out, but a man in India paid the ultimate price for trying to get one with a wild bear. It is believed the bear had cubs nearby and ultimately charged the man the moment he got too close. A couple onlookers tried to help, and you can even see a dog biting the bear to try to save him. But in the end, as what is often the case in man versus nature, nature wins.
Oh my God. Josh. Oh my God.
Here is a moment of total and complete irresponsibility. Why someone would encourage their dog to attack a wild bear, I'll never know. The footage cuts out before we see what happens, but I'm sure we are all hoping that the dog was okay. A 36-year-old man's life changed forever when he visited a remote temple in rural Thailand with a group of friends. Among the community of monks was a bear that previous visitors considered to be well-mannered, whatever that means for a bear. The man saw the powerful animal weighing 250 kilograms and decided to taunt it by dangling bowls of rice over its head. To his surprise, the bear quickly stood on its hind legs and dragged him down. His friends tried to beat off the bear with a pole, but it was no use. It was like a horror movie for everyone involved. The enraged bear continued to bite and scratch for almost a minute before it started dragging him across the dusty enclosure. Eventually, one of the friends ran into the enclosure and battered the bear in its cage with a pole while others focused on a rescue. Surprisingly, this actually worked, with the man being lifted out of the cage and no one else getting hurt. There is so much I wish to say about the stupidity and recklessness that some people have, but after watching this video, I'm sure he learned his lesson and hopefully gained some decent common sense. CCTV captures the moment a family dog goes to investigate a potential intruder rummaging through the trash. The pup soon realizes the intruder is in fact a wild bear, before crapping their pants and fleeing as fast as possible. The bear chases the dog down the road as Bailey, the owner, follows after them both. This probably wasn't too wise, as the bear soon turned around on Bailey, from which she crapped her pants also. In the end, no one was hurt, but everyone needed a new pair of underwear.
Timothy Treadwell was a bear enthusiast. I love you. He believed that he'd developed a special bond with a group of Alaskan grizzly bears, right up until the moment they ate him alive.